Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, August 24th. Hey, we got our usual crew with us. We got Josh, Lee, Tom, and Gentry going to kick some knowledge on your favorite body of water. We'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Hey, we're joined by our good friend Tom Mott. Going to talk a little bit of big lake fishing up there at Lake Guntersville. Tom, what's going on the big lake?
Hey, Dano. Well, a little bit more of the same. We kind of got a couple of cool nights, and that got some things going, and then the heat comes right back in just in time for all the weekend anglers. So it's out there to enjoy for sure. But what I've been finding is everything out there is pretty much a timing thing right now. If you're in the right place and the right time, you can really catch some fish. And it's kind of been difficult to determine. Obviously the morning has been much better with a little topwater action and some schooling action, and even in the middle of the day a little bit of schooling action. But as far as just running across some big groups of fish, it's been kind of difficult. Probably the best bite on the lake right now is just punching a little bit. I found that to be the most bite producer, but you really have to scale down the number of fish that you feel like you're going to catch too. You go through long stretches without anything, and then you'll catch a couple of fish. It's always like that, but it's just been a little bit tough. I think some of the ledge fishermen have seen that as well. I think you can still catch a decent limit of fish, of smaller fish, but it's difficult to come across bigger fish unless, again, you're punching or something along those lines. I think you could even find a pretty good bite on the outskirts of some of that millful up in the shallow areas with a popper or a frog type, any kind of inline spinner, something like that.
What about the brim bite? We talked about that last week. It seems like you still could find some around the docks. Is that something to keep yourself occupied?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you tie on a beetle spin or something like that, you can have all the fun you want. There's a lot of small bass up there too. So, I mean, you're going to catch a whole bunch of stuff. So you got a little kid, something like that, just tie you on a beetle spin and a 202 and go at it. I think you could have a lot of fun anyway, get a lot of bites. But as far as just really hammering some good eating size brim, I think, I'd have to defer to somebody that knows more about finding those deeper. But the crappie are out there on those deep ledges right now, and again, that's a pretty tough bite. But maybe Lee could tell you something about catching those deep fish, but it's not for me for sure.
Well, Tom, as always, brother, we appreciate it. Go pick up that flipping rod and drop some big weights through that grass. I'm sure you'll get a good one or two. Brother, we appreciate everything, man. We'll talk to you again next week. Hey, we got Gentry Gordy on the line, the chef extraordinaire down there at the firehouse. Gentry, let's talk a little bit of fishing. Let's start at Lake Martin today. What's going on over there?
Well, Dano, Martin got a little bit better with these. We had some cooler nights and it didn't get so hot. And it kind of brought some of that topwater action back we talked about last week. The hot weather kind of killed it, and it's brought it back a little bit. But besides that, the full moon, we had that big super moon. I mean, it seems like the bait and the bluegill around the lights at night, the green lights, man, they've just multiplied. So, of course, the bass are there with them. Yeah. So, if you can throw a big glide bait around there, of course, be careful because them stripers are up there too. You'll find them. But just a crankbait and a jig around the lights, it's still going to be a night thing at Martin. It's really tough during the day.
Are the bluegill up there at all during the day, or is it something
you're
just going to have to wait until the lights turn on?
No, they're up there. They're up there, especially around your floating docks. It's got a little bit of water up under them. You'll see them up under there. And every now and then you'll see the little bass swim by. I just haven't found the big ones are there. But they got so much brim to choose from. It's hard to get them to bite something.
Yeah, I hear you there. So topwater, what are you going to do during the day for the bass down there? Are you going to have to go out to those brush piles?
Yeah, you're gonna have to go brush piles of deep, or find them suspended up under the bait. The bait's there, but it's just
Yeah.
there's no set place. You really just got to run around and find the bait. And when you find a good school of bait, I mean, there's bass on them, but they're deep.
That bass bite that's deep under the bait, is that something you're gonna have to compete with striper for?
Yeah, they're up there. I mean, yeah, the striper are there. But to me, a lot though, the stripers will help push that bait up some, and that's when you'll see them come up schooling, and you're just gonna have to wait. It might be a 2 pound spot or a 10 pound striper. They're all fun. Just got to weed through them.
Yep. I'll tell you what I learned out at Lake Mead, some of the guys out there, they compete with the striper for the smallmouth bite when they're schooling. And what they did was they throw a little small jig, like on a 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce head with the small kayak on it, and actually a skirt, just let it fall below that school so that they can get the smallmouth to bite instead of the striper. Gentry, I appreciate everything, brother. You have a great day at the firehouse. We'll talk to you again next week. Hey, we got Lee Pitts joining us right here from his truck where the air conditioning's on, I'm sure. Lee, what's going on Weiss Lake this week?
We finally got a little breath of some fall weather coming in, so it was short lived, but at least we got a little bit of it. So that's helped our fishing too. So the fish are starting to move a little bit. Water temperature has come down just a little with that temperature. I know it's going to jump right back up, but the deeper fish are starting to kind of leave some of that. We still got a few fish that are staying deep, but the majority of them, they're trying to get up there on that bank, get around some of these flats that we got out here. When I say deep fish, I'm not talking about Guntersville fish. Deep on the coastal chain, you're looking at 8, 10, 12 foot of water. So they're starting to get around these docks pretty good right now. Still not getting a whole lot of bites. You got to work for them. But we're catching some, no monsters, but some decent fish, 2, 3, every now and then a 4-pounder. Just slowing down with plastics, looking for some stick ups, some brush piles. Still got a little bit of a grass bite. You just got to slow it down. It's still that same thing. If you're going to try to get a topwater bite, you need to throw something, a little prop bait, something you can kind of slow down, a smaller little spook or something like that. Get on some seawalls, get around some rocks. But it gave us a little hope this week with some of this weather turning. So it's looking better at Weiss.
Okay, what about Neely, Henry? I know we get a little bit more current through there because it's concentrated. How's Neely doing?
Neely's about the same. It's got a little bit more of the river system there. Some of the banks, it's got some wood or maybe some trash that's washed up on it. They're really starting to get more in that shade and on the brush and things like that. So that's something that's really helping out at Neely Henry right now. Still, worms, smaller jigs, starting to get a little bit of a crankbait bite too off some of these points. The fish are starting to move a little bit and get a little more aggressive. So that's helping. None of the big crankbaits, DT6, something like that, Little John, things like that you can just kind of get a fish that wants to chase a little bit.
What about the crappie bite anywhere, or is it still just too early?
No, it's starting to pick up, especially here on Weiss right now. That they're starting to move more to that deeper brush, and you can see some of these fish starting to kind of really, really kind of get a little tighter to it. We've got some of our new, the brush off jig heads with Bobby Garland right now that you can get down in that brush and bounce it around a little bit. They don't want to come out of it and chase, but if you can get over there with a baby shad, slab slayer, something like that, and get in that brush and beat it around, we're starting to pick up some crappie. So it's coming.
Brother, we appreciate everything. We'll talk to you again next week. Hey, we're joined by Josh Herron, going to talk a little bit of Logan, Martin, and Lay Lake fishing. Josh, I know the river's been moving just a little bit, but I know it's hot out there. What's going on Logan Martin?
Man, it's primarily a nighttime deal right now, I think. This giant moon we had and water temps, water flows, they've been really inconsistent. Seems especially like on Logan, the only time they're really generating water consistently is like the last 2 hours of the day, or the last 2 hours of daylight anyway. So that's kind of where we're at right now. especially with the moon we've had and all. There's still some fish that are getting up there really shallow, and I think that's just due to the lack of water flow more than anything. They don't have a consistent enough thing going for that to really be a productive deal outside of like kind of like Lee and everybody else. We're talking about piles. So I mean that's kind of where we're at. It's you kind of running into that sludge deal right before the fall starts, where fish are really keyed up on this super tiny bait, and it is everywhere. Oh, you can see giant pods of it in the pockets. You can see giant pods of it in the river. Doesn't really matter. It's absolutely everywhere.
What about with that bait out there? Are you starting to see any of the stripers showing up out there?
Yeah, man. The ones we don't want, they're always around. It seems like stripers are easier to catch than bass. But
Yep.
yeah. So I mean, you can run around, you can chase them with a live scope if that's your gig. Especially during the middle of the day when the sun gets straight up and down, they kind of sit underneath that bait, and striper will kind of help push that bait up, make them a little bit more balled up and concentrated. Oh,
Yep.
Lay's kind of in the same deal per se. It's kind of rain or shine according on water flow. The largemouth are still really hit or miss in the grass. You'll wind up with like a 1 hour window during the day that you can catch them pretty decent, but outside of that, it's a really slow deal also. So it seems like the most consistent thing right now is like brush piles, any of those little channel swings where that bait's kind of wadding up in the creek mouth, stuff like that.
What about the standing timber at Lay? Are they out there?
Yeah, man, they're sitting on top of it. I don't think they ever leave it. And those fish that live in that timber, I think the only time they really leave it's when they go spawn. And outside of that, they pretty much live in it. It depends on whether they get in the tops of it or not, which makes them a lot easier to catch when they get all the way in the top of them. Anyway, I mean, when they get real high like that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But guys who fish like Murray, Hartwell, stuff like that, you can actually go throw a big walking bait over the top of that timber in the middle of the day this time of year, especially when those fish get real high in it, and they'll actually eat walking baits out of that timber.
Yep. Josh, as always, brother, we appreciate everything, and we'll talk to you again next week, my friend. Well, that'll wrap up our Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, August 24th. Hey, stop on by and see us. Fishing season is right around the corner. That fall bite's going to kick off real quick, and you're going to want that new boat to go. Get on them fish. Come see Katie and the folks down there in the sales department. Of course, if you're trying to keep your boat running, you can talk to Pat and the guys in parts. You can always go see Misty and everybody in service if you need some help. And, of course, if you're looking for that tackle item that wants to put a fish in the boat, we got it up in the loft. Come see us at Bucks Island. You are the best part of what we do, and we look forward to seeing you every day. Talk to you soon.